Single season records that have the chance of falling now that we've gone to 17 games. Chris, you have a trivia question for me, and I have a confession. I inadvertently looked it up during the break because I thought I was asking you, so I've kind of cheated.
Okay.
I know the answer.
All right. Well, fine. You could just take the first pick then. It was prior to the NFL expanding from 14 to 16 games in 1978. Who was the only QB to throw? I don't know the answer to this yet. To throw.
Do you know the answer? All right. You then the question is, who was the only quarterback to throw for 4,000 or more yards in a single season when it was only 14 games? You get the trivia question. I know the answer because I looked it up.
Well, it's Joe Namath, right?
Yes.
I was gonna go Joe Namath or Fran Tarkenton. I couldn't remember which one it was, but again, I'm a historian, and I remember the Joe Namath and just everything talking about. And that's the reason people talked about him as being, the Dan Marino of his era and everything like that.
Technically, it's no one because Joe Namath did it in 1967 with the New York Jets. That wasn't an NFL team at the time. So technically, Pete's making an excuse. Technically, it's an AFL record, not an NFL record. And the reason I looked it up is last night when I was looking at the records that could be in danger, I scrolled through at Pro Football Reference all the top passing seasons, all the biggest numbers, and I thought I saw none from the 14-game season in the 250 top seasons on there. And actually, the one that's on there is Joe Namath, 1967, 4,007 yards. The other 249 top seasons are all from 16-game seasons, which tells you what happens, especially for quarterbacks, when you expand the season. All right, go ahead. You got the first pick. Records in grave danger now that we have 17 games.
I think the first one that jumps to my mind is like single-season reception, for a year. And I'm like, right now, Michael Thomas, I know, is at 148. That's an
149.
149. It's an unbelievable number. It is. But with the way we see quarterbacks, receivers throw the ball, teams, how they feature wide receivers, I mean, we've seen so many guys kind of flirt with the high 130s, low 140s, all of that type of stuff. I just go, you give a guy like a Michael Thomas or somebody that's got that type of offense one extra game, and one extra game could mean 12, 14 receptions, something like that. Yes, I'm going to go with that one right now. In the 2021 football season, the receptions, single-season receptions is in trouble.
Well, and it's per game. That's the key. 9.3 catches per game got to 149 with 16. 8.8 gets you to 150 with 17 games. And by way of example, the year Marvin Harrison got 143, the record that Michael Thomas broke, that average would have put him at 151.
Yeah.
So that one is in serious danger. I'll tell you, the one that I would take as my first pick, the passing yardage record, even though it's 54-77.
I know, I thought about it.
With 18 games, or 17 games, excuse me, with 18 games, it'll be even easier. With 17 games, you need 322.2 yards per game to break it. That really doesn't sound like much. 322.2 for 17 games gets you 54-78.
No, it doesn't sound like that much. I guess, hey, that's still a big number, as far as 5,400 yards. And I mean, what was our leaders at this year as far as passing yards? I'm just pulling this up. I mean, we got to 4,800, right? And this year, where we talked about defenses being a little simple and not, maybe being up to par with the offenses early part of the year, that's still 600 extra yards. I like that.
Dak Prescott, even though he got injured week 5, he was on pace to shatter. He was on pace for 6,000, but that was just through 4 games.
Yeah. So I'll be interested with that one. I really will. All right, I'm going to throw one out here. Not that and again, there's no guarantee that any of these records fall this year, but how about 0-17? Yeah, we got a new benchmark for Loserville in the NFL. Will you be the first team to go 0-17? I mean, there was a time where we thought 0-16 was really hard to do, and then we saw teams do it a lot over the last decade, and a few other teams really flirt with it in a lot of ways. So I just think it's only a matter of time here in the next 2 or 3 years before we see a team to go 0-17, and they can become the new basement bottom dwellers in the NFL.
Well, and the Browns of 2016.
The Browns ain't the Browns now.
That's right. And the Lions of 2008, they can get together and pop the champagne when someone goes 0-17, unless it's one of those two franchises, which for the Browns, probably not possible. For the Lions, it's at least on the edge of the radar screen. Next one for me, the single-season receiving yardage record. 1964, 115.5 per game breaks it. 115.5 for 17 games. That breaks the record.
I hear you. I mean, again, with the NFL, the passing numbers, some of the talent of these receivers, things like that, I certainly could see that. There's no doubt. I mean, I feel like some of the receiving records will be the quickest ones to go down. I don't know why, but I feel that way more than the other ones. All right, you're talking about 17 games. I'm going to go with Michael Strahan's sack record. At 22.5. I mean, we've seen people flirt with the 20s over the last 10 years. I think it was 2 years ago, 2018, Aaron Donald got 20.5. 2019, we had two guys, I think right around Shaq Barrett had 19.5. You give them an extra game there. Yes, I'm going to go with the single season sack record is one of the ones that falls here sometimes in the near future.
And the Strahan record needs to fall. 20 years later, we've kind of forgotten about it, but there's an asterisk on that record because the last sack was a gift from Brett Favre, who went rogue, rolled out in Strahan's direction, and slid so Strahan could touch him and get to 22.5. That's always bothered me. It's just bogus. He shouldn't have that record, and hopefully that record will fall, all due respect. Last one for me. Most games played by someone in a season, because there have been, in the modern era, plenty of guys who have played 17 games because they've been traded before their team has a bye and after their new team has a bye. Emmanuel Sanders, the most recent one to do it. Others were Will Allen, Dexter Carter, Damon Harrison, Jerry Rice, Michael Ross, Will Witherspoon, all played 17 games. Somebody's going to play 18 games.
Yeah, you're right.
Somebody's going to get traded in a way that they can play 18 games in one year.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.